What is good, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video as we're here for another Ring of Honor TV review, episode number 85. Got a lot to go through in this review, so let's just jump right into it. Normally, I do the small banter, small talking. No, we're jumping right into the review because there's a lot to go through, like I said. And the first thing to go through is a backstage segment that kicked off this episode involving Lexi Nair and Billy Starks as they are planning Athena's big championship celebration. Still have no clue if and when this will be taking place, but the only plans that are leaked is that there will be kittens, which I feel has already been noted, but there will potentially be kittens there. And Athena herself interrupts these plans as she has a extremely large handcuff and handcuffs herself to Lexi Nair because she watched last week's segment back and then saw Abaddon lurking in the background and just wanted to protect herself and Lexi. And Billy gets upset about this because it's another situation where she's not involved and she's not cared about. But to Athena's defense, she said, "Hey, Billy, you're a wrestler, so like, you can defend yourself." So this pisses Billy off. She doesn't even really want to be a part of planning the celebration, and so she runs off and prepares for her match later on. As soon as Billy leaves, someone else appears, that being Lady Frost, and she finds it very funny that Athena is very scared of Abaddon, and then Athena points out that she has beaten up Lady Frost before and done it in a timely manner. And Lady Frost wants her to try and do it again in a 10-minute time limit. So she said that she is on. So I imagine that we are getting Athena versus Lady Frost in a Proving Ground match next week. I will also say, I have no clue when the celebration is going to happen. I also imagine we'll get Athena versus Abaddon at some point. This has been brewing for well over a month, close to 2 months now, and I've said it several times in my other reviews that if they just hold this match off to have it around Halloween time or in a Halloween themed match, that is very much following the meme that Abaddon only gets titles matches around Halloween, but time will tell with that. As we do have a title match to kick off this week's episode of ROH, that being a New Japan Strong Openweight title match, Gabe Kidd defending against Anthony Henry in a segment that was not shown on this episode but on social media. Gabe Kidd said that he had some free time away from New Japan and wanted to beat up some people, and so he issues an open challenge that Beef accepts for his second cousin by marriage, Anthony Henry, and Henry pops up saying that he will take part in this match. So, opening contest is Anthony Henry and Gabe Kidd for the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. The bout starts with a brawl on the outside, and then once back in the ring, the two exchange chops. The brawl goes back to the outside once Gabe Kidd pushes Henry over the top rope. Gabe argues with Beef a lot, and it is very loud and audible between the two, and then Gabe Kidd gets tired of arguing with Beef and starts to argue with the fans via the microphone, and then he calls out anybody in the back to challenge him and that he is the baddest, so he just wants to face anyone and everyone, but he is facing Anthony Henry in this match, so let's get back to that. Gabe has the advantage until Henry lands some kicks and chops in the corner. Beef stops Gabe from getting something from under the ring, and this leads to Henry hitting a dive onto him on the outside, and then once back in the ring, lands a double foot stomp. Henry lands a Meteora, a Tornado DDT, and a Brainbuster for a close 2 count. Gabe Kidd lands a pair of suplexes for a 2 count. The two then exchange some chops, with Kidd bouncing off the ropes to land a lariat, and then wins the matchup and retains his championship off of a pile driver. So it was nice to see Gabe Kidd appear and to get another brand's championship defended on ROH. Very reminiscent of the early Honor Club days when Zack Sabre Jr. would appear to defend the NJPW World TV title. So there's that. Our next contest involves Brandon Cutler coming out and issues we got back-to-back open challenges because Brandon Cutler issues an open challenge specifically to any former champion in Ring of Honor. Now, why this was so specific is that he was praising the Elite and said that the Elite will retain their championships at WrestleDream, so he wants to keep the championship quota, at that level. And the open challenge is answered by someone that will be challenging a member of the Elite at WrestleDream, Katsuyori Shibata, who is a former Ring of Honor Pure champion. Cutler, is kind of his shtick when he's in ROH that they have to abide by the Code of Honor, and he only does that to attack them afterwards. So he attacks Shibata after the Code of Honor, and this does nothing to Shibata. He lands several chops and a big drop kick in the corner, follows it up with a sleeper hold and penalty kick to pick up the victory in preparation for his match against Jack Perry at WrestleDream. Speaking of WrestleDream, on the 0 hour, Brian Cage will be facing Atlantis Jr. with the ROH Television Championship on the line, and we get a message from Brian Cage in the backstage area. He mentions that he is a machine, and that he goes through everything that programs this machine. And one of the most important things of that is championships. And he calls out Atlantis Jr., who, like I said, he'll be facing at WrestleDream. And the most important note of this that came from this is that he's mainly upset that, Atlantis Jr., in quotes, does not go here, which is a Mean Girls reference that Ian Riccaboni later on clarified, and that he'll be facing him at WrestleDream. So there's that. Next, a quick matchup between Ella. It wasn't that quick. It happened. It was a lot happened in it, and it was a good match. Ella Elizabeth versus Billy Starks. Starks uses her anger from her MIT issues to put on a dominant performance. I will say that Elizabeth did land several big suplexes. There was a spot between the two where they started screaming in each other's faces. But of note, Starks lands a spinning heel kick, a drop kick to the outside, lots and lots of headbutts that was following that screaming spot that I mentioned, and one off of a swan dive. Then we get some tag team action. Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty facing the Infantry. Taylor and Bravo start the match off with a collar and elbow tie-up, but Shane Taylor Promotions, STP, follow up with having the advantage after trapping Dean in their corner. The Infantry pick it up once Taylor goes over the top rope. The Infantry land double punches on Moriarty, but Taylor stops a top rope maneuver from Dean from happening as Moriarty is able to roll up Charlie Bravo and pick up the win for STP. Speaking of tag teams, we have a tag team / trios. We get a message from the Dark Order talking about the role that they have been on, which was a tag team match involving Evil Uno and Alex Reynolds, and a singles match involving John Silver. Of note was that tag team match because that was against the Iron Savages, who hear the Dark Order talking about them and interrupt and only say that they won because it was 2-on-2 action, and that if it was in trios action that they would win, so they issue a challenge for them to be in trios action next time. As we get a women's TV title match that's been brewing for the past couple weeks. Red Velvet versus Diamanté, with the story here that Diamanté, there's a new side of Diamanté since Death Before Dishonor, and Red Velvet just wants to see this new side because she has defeated her several times beforehand. So let's see what happens in this women's TV title match. Diamanté tries to attack after the Code of Honor, but Velvet sees it and stops it. Velvet then stretches out and hits the splits while also choking Diamanté in the corner. Diamanté knocks Velvet off of the second rope, following up with some stomps, and in the corner lands a drop kick for a 2 count. A second one is also hit that also gets another 2 count. A big suplex gets a 2 count. Velvet then has a roll-up that gets a very close 2 count, and then Diamanté lands a drop kick that sends Velvet to the outside. And this is where the match goes into disarray and bother the hell out of me, because while on the outside, Diamanté does hit a big drop kick into the steel steps and then is revving up to potentially hit another one, but broke the count, so it is restarted. And then Diamanté starts to look at the championship belt. She picks the championship belt up. And Red Velvet sees this and, like, pushes her. And Diamanté gets pissed at this and picks the title back up. It hits Red Velvet. So the match ends in a DQ. And like I said, I was very disappointed. The commentary team was just mainly noting and trying to say that Diamanté's just been so frustrated with never being able to beat Red Velvet that she just wanted to damage her as much as she could. But they also noted that, like, hey, you were dominating this matchup. You literally could have just won the matchup and won the championship. So I imagine this is followed up with something, but not the happiest with this result, as I won't lie, I do want to see Diamanté win the championship. Or Red Velvet do. Like, this, I am fairly certain, is the first, like, straight up women's TV title match of Velvet's reign, because the other matches, I believe, have been proving grounds. I might be wrong with that, but it just kind of, again, felt very pointless to just, especially when, like, Diamanté was dominating the whole match, you know. Kind of happened out of nowhere, so we'll see what happens with that. I'm not going to harp on it too much. As we get a very quick matchup, Lance Archer versus Sam Bill. An attack after the Code of Honor, which is the third time that happened tonight. Archer dominates the matchup and wins with a blackout. So there's that. As we go to the backstage area where the infantry are arguing with one another, not just wanting to know what the hell's going on with them. They've kind of lost their mojo. And someone appears to tell them that being the person that beat them tonight, Shane Taylor, and interrupts and wants them to dominate, wants them to get back into form and get back to showing who they are. And even Trish Adora, who was managing the infantry tonight, saying that, hey, you need to do the same as well. So she was catching a stray, even though she wasn't even in the ring in the match. So I wouldn't be against the infantry joining Shane Taylor Promotions, because they've been showing a new side of them. So we will see what happens with that. As now, I'm going to get a water break because we got a lot to go through with this. Last week on ROH/the ROH TV review, as I just freaking hit my elbow, we reviewed a historic match in Ring of Honor history. Samoa Joe versus Kenta Kobashi from Joe versus Kobashi. And I even said, hey, if they do this every week, there will probably be some instances where I skip the matchup. You know, we'll just have to wait and see the situation and the matchup. So they followed up and are showing another historic Ring of Honor match this week. And as you can see by the title, and see by the notepad, and see by the special red pen, we're reviewing it, we're going through it. This matchup being Bryan Danielson versus Kenta from Glory by Honor 5, September 6th, 2006. They didn't really have, I guess it's still in conjunction with promoting Wrestle Dream, so there's that. So let's go through this matchup. They did not do special commentary for this, but I feel that was mainly done for Joe versus Kobashi because there's no commentary originally for that matchup. So this was the OG commentary. The only thing I will note is that they said that Bruno Sammartino was at ringside for this match, was invited to be at ringside for this match, and I was trying to like spot him out. If he was out there, they did not show him, so I know that he was at the event because he's on the DVD cover for this show, so there's that. But Danielson versus Kenta, a all-time matchup in ROH history. Let's go right through it. Danielson ducks a kick off the start, but does not duck a slap by Kenta. And I will go ahead and say this now, that Kenta lands a lot of slaps, and they are thunderous and very loud. And Danielson lands a lot of slaps, but they just are not as loud as Kenta's. Then they do a collar and elbow tie-up, and Danielson quickly lands his own slap. Kenta lands a kick into Danielson's injured shoulder twice, which Danielson's injured shoulder plays a big factor in this matchup. Danielson tries to retreat, and tries to do the same thing, but is just not as effective as Kenta's, like I previously mentioned. Kenta continues the kicks on the outside after moving out of the way of a crossbody. Back of the ring, Kenta continues to target the shoulder. Danielson fires back with slaps and headbutts, but they just aren't as effective. Danielson tries to get the advantage with some submission maneuvers, mainly a surfboard and a figure 4 leg lock, which, when referee Todd Sinclair's back is turned, he grabs the ropes for. KENTA then lands a springboard dropkick that gets a 2 count, and then quickly follows it up with an armbar that Danielson can get into the ropes for. Danielson applies a single leg Boston Crab, but struggles to keep it in due to his damaged shoulder. Danielson lands a top rope suplex and applies a cross-face chicken wing afterward that KENTA kicks out of. And they stand up. The two exchange several punches, kicks, forearms, and lariats with the crowd cheering afterward. The two go to the outside where Danielson lands a belly-to-belly suplex, and then the craziest spot of the match that happens in several Danielson matches during this time period, a springboard plancha into the crowd. And I love that, like, KENTA, like, gets pushed into the crowd, and the crowd, like, immediately know, oh, crap, we need to get out of the way of this, but Danielson is able to land it. Back of the ring, Danielson lands a top rope drop kick, but KENTA reverses it. Let's back this up. Danielson lands a top rope drop kick, and then KENTA reverses a Danielson lariat attempt into an armbar. KENTA hits a ace crusher into another armbar attempt. Danielson lands a regal plex for a 2 count. Danielson lands a back body drop off of the top rope and then follows it up with a counter-mutilation that KENTA gets into the ropes for. KENTA catches Danielson and hits the go to sleep, but Danielson gets his foot on the rope right before the 3 count, and the crowd are shocked by this. Danielson reverses a Busaiko knee into a roll-up for a close 2 count. Then Danielson lands lots and lots of elbows into KENTA's face that KENTA is able to power out of. That way he does not lose by knockout. We get several pinfall attempts from both men after this, followed up by several counter-mutilations attempts, and one final counter-mutilation attempt from Danielson leads to KENTA tapping and Danielson retaining his Ring of Honor World Championship. And they also did make note on commentary that this was the 1-year mark in his Ring of Honor World Championship title reign, because he defeated James Gibson at the previous year's Glory by Honor. So, like I said, depending on how I feel and how the weeks are going, and how many times they actually do this, like back the first 2 times that they did this with Joe versus Kobashi and then KENTA versus Danielson, I was all aboard on. But will these weekly retro ROH reviews happen? Time will tell. So what we need to be telling and talking about now is our main event matchup, the Proving Ground match, Mark Briscoe versus Josh Woods. I will also make note that I already made a thumbnail and had the title of the video planned, and it was going to involve Red Velvet and Diamanté, because I was like, oh, we're finally getting this match. I was so damn disappointed in it, I scrapped it and changed it to Mark Briscoe and Josh Woods. So, why is this match happening? During the conglomeration and premier athletes match on Collision, Mark Briscoe and Josh Woods started to brawl and went to the backstage area. I will say, a bit confused why this is a Proving Ground match, because Josh Woods has been victorious several times in ROH, where some of the other people that haven't been get ROH World title matches, but I don't think that matters in the grand scheme of things. And they've also made note that Mark Briscoe is facing Chris Jericho at Wrestle Dream, regardless if he is ROH champion or not. But will Josh Woods be up next and have a title match in line? Let's see. So like I mentioned, these two were brawling at Collision. That's what set this match up. And the brawl continues with these two to start this matchup, with mainly Mark using his redneck kung fu. And then he follows it up with his springboard dive off of the chair to the outside. Woods catches a froggy bow into an arm bar and damaging the arm and shoulder of Mark Briscoe. It does not help that Mark Sterling, while the referee's back is turned, continues to damage and hit on the arm of Briscoe. Woods lands an arm drag off of the top rope and then sets up an arm bar after this. Again, like I said, Mark's arm is very damaged. Mark struggles to apply the J Driller, and then Mark can't even use his own arm, like I keep saying, but he can use his teeth, which is funny because he is missing a tooth. But he's able to use his teeth and bite Josh Woods, pushing him off of the top rope and hit the froggy bow and is able to win this matchup in preparation for his match with Chris Jericho at Wrestle Dream. If you want to know my thoughts on this match, I've talked about it already a couple of times, but I'll continue to talk about it because right after I end this video, I'm filming my Wrestle Dream predictions. But overall, this was a good episode of ROH because we had championship matches, we had important matches, we had an historic match on here that I enjoyed. It was a long episode of ROH, but it kind of flew by, so that, I guess, is a good thing. But, like I said, I'm going to film my Wrestle Dream predictions right after I hit the end button on this. So, if you enjoyed this video, I hope that you do. If I do, I guess that still applies. I struggle with freaking ending videos. But, hopefully, if you enjoy this video, you leave a like. You can leave a comment as well. If not, stay safe, enjoy your time, and I'll see you in the next one, because I'm out.